Good afternoon and welcome to the Sustainable Materials Management Webinar Series, a joint effort between the National Recycling Coalition and the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center. My name is Wayne Bowen and I'm the Program Manager for the Center and will serve as your moderator today. We would like to extend a special thanks to Bob Hollis of the Mobius Network for providing the management software for this series, and Lisa Ruggiero of the National Recycling Coalition for providing technical support. Today's webinar focuses on the used clothing recovery and reuse industry. We have three excellent presenters today, Jackie King, John Harvey, and Ira Basin. Following their presentations, we will conduct a question and answer session. If you have a question or comment, please use the GoToWebinar dialog box located in the control panel on your screen. You may also use the dialog box to request assistance if you are experiencing technical difficulties during the webinar. Please note that an edited version of this webinar will be made available for viewing on YouTube via links to the National Recycling Coalition and Pennsylvania Recycling Markets Center websites. And now I'd like to introduce our first presenter, Jackie King. Jackie is Executive Director of the Secondary Materials and Recycled Textiles Association, also known as S.M.A.R.T, which is based in Abington, Maryland. She acts as the Chief Staff Liaison to the S.M.A.R.T Board of Directors and is responsible for the administration and implementation of board policies and initiatives. Ms. King has worked in association management for more than 10 years, encompassing advancing roles in project and program management, strategic planning and implementation, administrative management, budgeting and finance management, meeting and event management, and communications on behalf of client organizations. Reporters from national news outlets such as NPR, USA Today, have interviewed Ms. King as her role as a primary spokesman for Ms. King has also been the subject of local television news reports and has appeared on a variety of public affairs radio programs. Her comments have also been carried in numerous local media outlets and ministry trade publications. She's a graduate of the University of Maryland and the University of Baltimore Law School and is a member of the Maryland Bar. And now I'd like to hand the program over to Jackie.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar, and I hope that attendees on the line will learn a lot more about used clothing, reuse, and recycling. Again, my name is Jackie King. I'm the Executive Director with S.M.A.R.T, the Secondary Materials and Recycled Textiles Association. And what I'd like to start out with is just an overview of what are acceptable textiles that can be reused or recycled. Any clothing, household textile or commercial linen textiles, as long as it is clean, dry, has no odor, can be reused or recycled. And basically any kind of clothing or apparel, from shoes to belts and purses, all of those items are considered a textile that can be reused or recycled. We've developed a list for our members to use when they're trying to help educate people about what can be recycled. And you can see the list goes from on here from B to U, but it could go from A to Z. So anything from bedding to belts, bras is something that most people don't think of as a recyclable, but it certainly can be reused and recycled. And any kind of linen or textile. So it's a very long list of things that can be reused or recycled. The other point that is very important to make is that even if an item of clothing has a tear or a stain, as long as it's clean or dry, there is another reuse for it, either as what it was intended as clothing, or it can be recycled and made into something else. The use of the term recycling within the textile recycling industry usually has been interchanged. I know the title of this program is recovery, but recovery, recycling, and reuse, those are all things that people in the textile recycling industry do. Clothing that's sold in a charity thrift store and then sold to other countries would be considered reuse. Clothing and textiles that are turned into wiping rags, and then others that are ground up and made into fiber would be considered recycling. So all of these are things that people in the for-profit textile recycling industry do. People ask, well, why should I recycle textiles? Well, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, estimates that between 1999 and 2011, the amount of textiles that are going into our landfills grew by 22%, from 9.1 million tons to 11.1 million tons. Yet the diversion rate, the amount that being taken out of landfills, only grew by 2.4%. So there is a real need for these materials that almost 95% of them can be reused or recycled to be taken out of the landfill and the waste stream. Other reasons to recycle textiles, it's a very green thing to do. Carbon footprint reduction, clean air preservation, most of these things by not manufacturing or creating new clothing, reducing energy consumption for the same reason. Water conservation, there's a lot of water that goes into, for example, making a new t-shirt. If you're reusing and recycling it, you're not using that water. Woodland conservation, if people are using wiping rags made from textiles or clothing as opposed to paper, they're not cutting down trees. About 6.6% of the waste stream is currently made up of clothing and housing textiles, and that adds up to more than 11 million tons that are thrown away annually in the United States. There's a lot of other benefits and impacts of recycling textiles, and in the recent EPA study, they had a very interesting statistic that estimates the current level of recycling in the reduction of greenhouse gases, and they used equivalent comparing it to how many cars would be removed from the road if you were to recycle different items. Yard waste removes 170,000 cars. Glass removes 210,000 cars. Plastic removes 640,000. Aluminum recycling removes 1.3 million. And textile recycling removes 1 million cars. Yet many people do not even associate textile recycling with the traditional forms of recycling. We've developed an infographic or a picture to help tell a story about this particular statistic, and this is on our website. So what we tried to do is tell the story of how this can be a big difference in what is recycled, and comparing it to the different recyclables that most people are very familiar with. Where does our recycled clothing go? Well, about 45% of used clothing and recycled textiles are used in the secondhand apparel market. So the things that are worn, be able to be worn again, that's about 45%. A large majority of that is sold overseas. 30% of these materials become wiping or polishing rags, and 20% become reprocessed into fibers and made into all kinds of different products. And only about 5% of the recycled clothing and textiles aren't usable, and a lot of that is because they have some odor on it or hazardous material. Can textiles be recycled? Yes, they can. It's about the oldest form of recycling. However, the average person discards about 70 pounds of clothing each year in the United States. S.M.A.R.T and charities like Goodwill, Salvation Army, St. Paul are able to divert about 4 billion pounds of waste each year. And by doing that, they're reducing the world's carbon footprint. The very difficult statistic is that about 15% of textiles that could be recycled are currently being diverted, which means there's a whole lot more out there that could be recycled or reused. Our motto is donate, recycle, don't throw away. So that's what we've been trying to do as an organization, to educate Textiles that are reused or recycled in industry, they're not that much different today than what they've been for the hundreds of years. What has changed in the textile recycling industry is that it's becoming much more transparent and is now being recognized by both charities and regulators as having a positive environmental impact as a recyclable and as an economic. Textile recycling also helps to drive our economy here in the U.S. and abroad. It's a great revenue stream for recycling agencies because many uh, local governments and municipalities will have collection points for recycled textiles and they will sell them and have money to help fund projects. It also helps create jobs. It funds a variety of charitable initiatives. Many of our members partner with charities, and the money they make from the recycled clothing that's sold helps them to do their good work. It helps to promote small businesses. It encourages a variety of recycled product development. And one of the biggest factors, especially in used clothing and apparel, is that it provides affordable clothing to people. And many people in other countries outside of the United States and North America rely heavily on used clothing as their major source of clothing. Businesses also can recycle, and we have many of our members who partner with healthcare facilities, hotels, hospitality industry to collect, for example, sheets and towels that maybe are worn or torn or have stains, but still are clean and can be reused or recycled. Retail stores who are trying to get rid of clothing that is no longer saleable, it's certainly something that can be reused or recycled. So we feel that recycling textiles is everyone's business and is good business. I have a little graphic here that kind of gives you a flow chart of what happens to your clothes. You start at the top with the graphic of the woman at her dresser. That's your average consumer who has clothing that she no longer needs or wants. If you move clockwise, that person will then donate those materials to a charity or recycle with a municipality or recycling bin. Traditionally, charities sell about 10 to 20% of the items that are donated at the storefront. And the rest of those materials, they then will sell to either for rag broker, a clothing broker or grader, and then they're able to use those materials to sell for the variety of purposes I mentioned, like clothing, wiping rags. Nearly 99% of donated textiles are recycled, and the three grades I mentioned were used clothing, wiping cloths, and fiber materials. As I mentioned previously, also estimated only about 15% of textiles are being diverted from the. I'm going to move on from this graphic to just talk a little bit about what our organization does. We are a nonprofit trade association, and we were established in 1932. All of our members are for-profit companies, and they're involved either in the clothing business, wiping material and rags, or fiber conversion companies. We have nearly 200 member companies worldwide, and all of them are committed to the green way of life. Our vision is that we should be the leading industry voice promoting high standards, best practices for reducing solid waste by recycling textiles and related secondary materials. Our members collect, reclaim, and close the loop by processing, converting, and distributing these recyclables. Our members are involved in the pre-consumer market by buying byproducts from textile and fiber companies, refurbishing materials for consumer products, and then making them into wiping cloths, insulation for automobiles, for your homes. On the post-consumer market, which most people are familiar with from the clothing side, is that many of our members acquire clothing and textiles from charities and also from commercial sources. Once that clothing is graded, So again, our members recycle by reducing solid waste through life extension of the clothing, reusing gently worn clothing, and recycling old garments and converting them into fiber or into wiping cloth. We have several goals as an organization. One of them is to raise awareness about the need to recycle textiles. Another is to increase the supply of textiles in the marketplace. Since only 15% of textiles that can be recycled are, we know there's a lot of room for growth in that area. We also want to decrease the amount of clothing and textiles that goes in landfill. One of the things we've worked on the last year or two is to offer help and expertise to local governments, towns, municipalities in developing programs that will help promote textile recycling and help them to find recycling company partners. So some of our members partner with local governments to help them with this. One of the things that this helps municipalities and local governments do is reduce tipping fees associated with textile waste disposal. In the last year, we embarked on a campaign to help educate students about textile recycling through an educational curriculum called the Recycling Rangers program, and that's for grades kindergarten through 5 in the United States. These are lesson plans for elementary students. They're based on the Common Core of speakers that have been adopted by most of the states in the United States. These materials are free, and they're also available on the S.M.A.R.T website. Our goal is to reach 1 million students by the year 2015 with this program. This year, we've launched a new program where we partner with teachers to help host clothing drives in schools, and we've gotten support from many of our members who will be sponsors of those clothing drives. This is just a graphic to show you what the program looks like. Certainly you can find out more information about this by going to our website, smartasn.org. Some other SMART initiatives, these are also found on our website. We've developed public service announcements for television and radio on a variety of areas about textile and clothing recycling to help educate people. We've developed some other infographics in addition to the one I showed you previously that talks about the greenhouse gas reduction. And then we've also developed an online buyer's guide for the general public to help direct them to people they can partner with to recycle any clothing and textiles that we have. And I'll just show you quickly. This is a graphic, infographic we developed to show the amount of clothing that's thrown away, how much can be recycled, and then how much can actually be recovered if people recycle clothing and textiles. We also have another one called The Secret Double Life of Donated Textiles that talks about what can happen to your clothing if you recycle it. Our online buyer's guide is a listing of all of our SMART members, and it's searchable by product category and region. And this helps consumers, other people that may have excess material that they're trying to find a home for. This is available to anyone if they click on the homepage of our website. We have a button for the online buyer's guide. It's a great way for people to find resources for recycling clothing. Some other initiatives we've embarked on in the last year have all been related to clothing collection bins in various communities. We've developed a bin code of conduct to give guidance to our members about how they should label their bins and how they should be very transparent in bins that they may have in the community. We've also developed language for local governments if they're looking to draft an ordinance to regulate clothing collection bins. And we have a bin position paper that also helps to describe what the lay of the land is regarding clothing and textile recycling. Our board of directors also decided to develop a committee of members in this area to help them work more proactively in cities and towns, so that they understand what it is that our members do, and also to make sure that we're engaging people to have best practices on how to operate them. At our upcoming convention in March, we're going to have a training day to help train our members how to better work with regulators and legislators. We have a sister organization called the Council for Textile Recycling. That organization is open to other municipalities, to state governments, agencies, also to apparel and retailers. And it's a little bit broader scope, but our members who are members of S.M.A.R.T are also part of that. Their goal is to have zero textile waste in landfills by the year 2037. Ways that people can help to encourage textile recycling, if you're in a municipality or local government, is to provide convenient collection points, promote textile recycling days, try to include textile recycling in all your marketing about various other recycling programs you may have, and to, in general, just help educate the public about textile recycling. We are going to be launching a new International Textile Recycling Summit in June of next year, and this is going to be held in conjunction with the international organization, the Bureau of International Recycling, with their textile division, and the Council for Textile Recycling. This is an opportunity to have all of the stakeholders on the international as well as U.S. front meet together and talk about ways that we can improve raising awareness about textile recycling. I thank you for your time, and I know that there will be an opportunity at the end for people to ask questions. If you want additional information, certainly go to our website, www.smartasn.org.
Thank you, Jackie. That was an excellent overview of the textile recycling industry. We're going to be switching presentations here, so please give us a moment. Meanwhile, I will introduce our next speaker, John Harvey. John is president of the Central States Used Clothing, based in Detroit, Michigan. John is a broker and consultant to charities, nonprofit organizations, and companies which collect used clothing in the United States and Canada. And John is also a member of the S.M.A.R.T organization. So John, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. This is John Harvey, speaking from snow-laden Detroit, Michigan, and on the youth clothing recovery and reuse industry. As a clothing broker and consultant, we work with numerous charities and nonprofit organizations which collect used clothing to generate revenue to fund their community programs. Also purchases the collected used clothing and sells it for the charities and nonprofit organizations to various thrift store operations and groups across the United States and Canada who are unable to collect enough used clothing for their consumers. We work diligently to make donated used clothing is reused or recycled from clothing in a thrift store to wiper rags for other industries or turned into shoddy, which looks like cotton candy, fluffy, and used as insulation and padding. Currently, we are able to assist charities and nonprofit organizations to completely clothe a child, as an example, in third world countries for less than $1.75 or $1.75. That's our program. What we do, we work with the various collectors and groups, VINT programs, school programs. We're part of the school programs in several states, thanks to S.M.A.R.T. 10% of the waste that we're putting in our landfills is reusable, and that's what my lecture is about. We've been working with several of them now. We're taking re-wearable clothing that's dumped every day into the waste stream. Mr. and Mrs. John Donor do not have the time to take donations to the charity. so they put it out with the garbage as well. The charities and nonprofits collect more donations than they can use in their thrift stores, and they dump trailer loads of donations at landfills. I've seen it. I've got pictures of it. And in some states, they don't charge these groups no tipping fees. By extracting the used clothing from the waste stream, we extend the life of landfills. Recycling centers, both public and private, have containers, bins for paper, glass, pop cans, everything to recycle. Even door-to-door and curbside pickups offer small containers. But why don't we put bins or containers at your facilities or landfills, collect it and sell it by the pound? It's very, very good situation. Mixed-use clothing in bags or boxes, either loose or baled, will bring anywhere from 15 to 25 cents per pound. And that price will vary up and down. Original donation, still in the bag, the way Mrs. Jones brought it to you, untouched, 25 to 35 cents a pound at your door, usually prepaid. Buyers supply transportation. The loads will vary in size. It could go from 2,000 pounds to 32,000 pounds. That's on the collector. Prices, availability. Donations are down the first quarter of the year. Citizens don't seem to donate much in the cold weather. Therefore, the prices are up. In late spring, early summer, donations are up and the prices are stable. In August through October, there is a glut of material on the market, so prices drop. The whole industry is worse than the stock market when it comes to pricing. Weather affects the market. Use a broker. Advertise on the internet. Call S.M.A.R.T. Call us. There's hundreds of buyers for the used clothing. Mexico, South America, Africa, Australia, every day in big tonnage is leaving the United States with recycled clothes. There are thrift store chains in the United States and Canada buying trailer loads every day. My brokerage sells to one USA thrift operation, estimated approximately 300,000 pounds a week. That's 10, 30,000 pound loads in trailers. Canadian stores favor USA used clothing from Vancouver to Montreal and North New Brunswick. And another item that is definitely very recyclable and that which we suppliers are in need of right now is used footwear. Used shoes, paired used shoes are bringing anywhere from 55 to 75 cents a pound to the supplier or more in bags or boxes. No women's high heels. They don't seem to work too well in the sand or the riverbed in Africa. Everybody wants American used footwear. The textile recycling industry has 2,000 companies or more. Removes annually from the solid waste stream 2.5 billion pounds of post-consumer textile products waste. Between 1990 and 2003, the United States exported nearly 7 billion pounds of used clothing and worn textile products from around the world. And these figures are from the World Trade Atlas. The average American throws away estimated 68 pounds of clothing and textiles per year per citizen. Most of the recycling firms are small, family-owned businesses with fewer than 500 employees. The majority have between 35 and 50 people. The industry as a whole employs approximately 10,000 semi-skilled and marginally employable workers at the primary processing level and creates an additional 7,000 jobs in the final processing stage. Primary and secondary processors account for annual gross sales of 400 million and 300 million respectively. Textile recycling firms contribute to the revenue base of federal, state, and local governments. In addition, these firms purchase a large percentage of the raw materials from charitable institutions, who in turn use these funds to house, feed, and train the less fortunate. Industry members are able to recycle 93% of the waste they process without producing any new hazardous waste or harmful byproducts. Textile recyclers export 61% of their products, thus reducing the U.S. trade deficit. Documentation Documented export sales of recycled clothing from the U.S. exceeded 217 million in 1999, and that's courtesy of the U.S. Census Bureau. While a few communities have textile recycling programs, 85% of this waste goes to landfills, where it occupies about 4% of landfill space. More than 230,000 pounds of usable textiles, including clothing, footwear, towels, bedding, and other fabricated products, were sent to the landfills and incinerators in Massachusetts in 2010, according to the results of a recent waste composition study published by a firm. 95% of all clothing and household textiles can be recycled or repurposed, according to S.M.A.R.T officials. The association encourages people to donate or recycle all clothing and household textiles in any condition, as long as they're clean and dry at all times, through the collection process. The 5% of waste materials potential that are disposed of as trash are either wet, mildewed, or contaminated with oil, paint, or another hazardous material. The donation of clothing, shoes, linens, and bedding supports a thriving industry and across many industries across the county. Percentage of the clothing and textiles they receive as donations are sold in their retail stores. The stuff they can't sell in the U.S. are sold to textile brokers who export and grade the material into categories. They're converted into that stuff is converted into industrial wiping cloth, and the remainder are sent to fiber converters, where they are broken down into the basic fiber components to be remanufactured into insulation, carpet padding, or soundproof materials. The darn stuff looks like cotton candy, fluffy cotton candy, great. Really, really impressive. Just here in the Detroit market, this September 2013, the Detroit News reported that several landfills in Michigan have been shut down because of increased recycling by residents. Businesses have reduced the amount of waste they send to the landfills, and other economic factors. In the same article, the state of Michigan has reported the following: 28% less garbage taken to landfills, 44% decrease in trash coming in from Canada, 58% plunge in waste from other states. A week ago, I love this, I didn't get the newspaper articles out fast enough. A week ago, this past week, General Motors and their 75 tenants, including they're in the Renaissance Center, a large structure here in downtown Detroit. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan reported that they had just completed a 2-year conversion to fully reuse, recycle, and convert to energy the 5 million pounds of trash they generally generate annually. And that concludes my conversation regarding rags.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that presentation. Okay, our next presenter is Ira Baseman. Ira is president and CEO of Community Recycling located in Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Ira Baseman came to the clothing and recycling industry over 13 years ago after a variety of professional and entrepreneurial endeavors. Ira began his career in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia as a corporate attorney with a focus on contracts and commercial real estate development. He left the law firm to join Toll Brothers and contributed to their national growth by opening new markets around the country. With the desire to pursue an entrepreneurial calling and with the advent of the internet, Ira launched his own venture-based company in the early 1990s, focused on the cross-section of technology and real estate. He successfully sold the company to a larger competitor and soon thereafter set his sights on the recycling world. Ira began on the retail thrift side, which he built for 3 years and sold to Goodwill Industries. From the outset, Ira has driven improvement and change in the clothing recycling industry by elevating the value of reuse and abandoning the cloak that has hidden clothing recycling from plain view. With community recycling, Ira's goal is at once simple and ambitious: to make the world a little smaller, a little greener, a little friendlier through the simple act of recycling. He invites us all to join the reuse movement and become part of people recycling for people. Ira?
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to thank the PA-RMC and the National Recycling Coalition for making this webinar possible. And thank you, Wayne, for the introduction. As a relative newcomer to the industry, having just been in this business for 13 years, we are very much a transparent, for-profit recycling company. However, we have a very different mission. Our mission is to change the world of clothing recycling. Our goal is to create a personal experience around the simple act of recycling, connecting people across communities and around the world. Next slide, please. We began our company as a traditional bin-focused clothing recycling company, but soon realized that we needed to elevate and promote recycling as its own cause through engaging and innovative programming focused on reuse, humanizing the act of recycling and making it as simple as people recycling for people. Next slide, please. As my colleagues have already spoken to, the problem is significant. It is rather ironic that this industry, the clothing recycling industry, is one of the oldest industries around recycling, and yet the problem remains. We are met with a growing amount of material that is put into the landfills that can be reused. And reuse is the issue. This is our focus. And I don't want to give you the same numbers that my colleagues have already given, but the evidence is clear. The problem is in front of us, and it needs to be met with a great solution. Next slide, please. The EPA has spoken to this issue, has given us the corroboration, and has really legitimized, in many ways, the clothing recycling industry. It is abundantly clear that with the EPA's imprimatur and with the efforts through S.M.A.R.T and through other industry leaders, we have clearly put this problem in the spotlight, and it's ours to solve. Next slide, please. And to our thinking, the impact that we can make on our world is not only environmental, it's not only social, but it is very much a human impact. And we are very much focused at community recycling on solving this problem. Next slide, please. The cornerstone for clothing recycling, for community recycling especially, is reuse. Reuse is the highest and best form of recycling with positive environmental, social, and economic impacts. It is made possible really with convenience at the core. Convenience is the paramount prime mover. It's the only thing that really drives, as far as we know, in terms of behavioral studies that have been done on recycling. The only thing that drives commitment is convenience. But we've taken it a step further. We've redefined convenience, and we've made it very much a personal experience. Next slide, please. Our mission at Community Recycling is to take the convenience to a different level and really focus on a wide array of programs that are designed to promote reuse everywhere and anywhere at any time, at the home, in the schools, on campus, at work, in the retail environment. It's essentially a 360 availability, accessibility, and opportunity to participate in this movement. The unifying thread that ties together all of our programs is convenience as redefined, as I've mentioned, but most especially, it's about the personal experience that is engaging, that is fun, enlightening, and most especially impactful. It's putting a human face to recycling and delivering a personal sustainability experience. Next slide, please. While we started as a traditional bin collection recycling company, we have gone outside of the bin. We have gone beyond to create a very much transparent experience, to elevate and promote and engage in ways that are entirely different and very much about a personal experience. The list of programs that we've developed are intended to be available, accessible, and customizable essentially for multiple retail channels, municipal channels, educational channels. A number of opportunities where people aggregate, congregate, and are participating in the recycling movement. So I'm going to talk especially about a number of the programs that we've recently launched over the last couple of years and give you a bit of detail about each one. Next slide, please. Our most ambitious and our most scalable program of all is called S.M.A.R.T Home. We have taken recycling down to its very core. The most convenient way of participating is in the home, is literally being able to print a label, fill a box with clothing, shoes, bags, belts, all of the material that we've talked about is recyclable. Put it on the doorstep and allow the postal service to do the rest. It is the most impactful, it's the most necessary, and it is by far the most convenient. But on top of that, it is a solution that offers tracking, reporting, with the least intrusive engagement in terms of additional resources placed on the street. This is a solution that is available anywhere and everywhere directly to people's homes. Next slide, please. We have already begun to introduce the CR Home concept to large retailers who are interested in closing the loop, who are interested in providing to their patrons a recycling solution that is simple as mailing a letter, as simple as participating in the convenience of their own home, while at the same time patronizing the retailer and participating in the sustainability of that retailer. The reporting, the tracking, the the convenience of that solution is unbelievably different and unbelievably engaging beyond anything that's been done to date. On top of that, we are providing reporting back to the consumer and back to our retail partners, provide them with information on what's been recycled, when it's been recycled, and ultimately its destination, to give people the information of where their recyclables are being sent and how that is being impacted both at the community level and across the globe. The C.R. Home solution is perfectly applicable to the municipality. This is a program that we've seen launched in beta with a number of local municipalities, and we expect that this is going to be a very meaningful part of our future, allowing municipalities to engage in recycling without adding any more trucks to the street, without doing anything more than inviting their citizens to participate in community service and an impactful, environmentally rewarding experience. Next slide, please. Another program that we've launched is C.R. Kids. It all begins with the children, and we have created, in very similar ways to what S.M.A.R.T has been doing, a program that's designed directly for the K through 5 student. We've created our own curriculum. We've created marketing materials. We've created incentives. We've provided a world map that is made out of recycled textiles that's delivered to each school, certifying that they've participated in this meaningful program. But what's really most exciting about this is that we have partnered with Skype in the classroom to allow certain schools that have managed to recycle to their goals. We've provided them with an iPad to connect classrooms in this country to classrooms around the world. And recently, we connected a classroom from Northeast Philadelphia to Tunis, Tunisia, with children talking about sports and ice cream and about their work in school. It was a phenomenal experience and one that they will never forget. And many other children are lining up to participate in this program because of the cultural connection, because of the understanding that recycling and reuse especially connects us to others around the world. Next slide, please. In a similar fashion, we've launched CR Campus, focused around the university's clean out and move out days. We've partnered with eco warriors, eco students, eco organizations on campus that are incredibly excited, socially motivated, totally turned on to social media, and incredibly enthusiastic about participating not only on their campus, but in their local community. We've created a fully deliverable recycling toolkit that can be delivered anywhere essentially in the country. And it has delivered us great results and delivered results back to the organizations, back to these universities in a very meaningful way. Next, please. Shoebox recycling. Shoebox recycling was launched about 1.5 years ago with the idea that we could take the proverbial note in a bottle and apply that romanticism to the simple act of recycling a pair of shoes. Through the technology that's available to us with tracking and the internet and the like, we've created a program that's designed to allow people to print off a note from our website, place it in a pair of shoes, send those shoes back to community recycling where they're destined for somewhere else around the globe, with the prospect that that person receiving those shoes will contact us through our website and we can make a soulmate happen. And that has happened a few times in just the recent past with a soulmate connection in Karachi, Pakistan, and in Freetown, Sierra Leone. It has been a tremendous experience for all of us here at Community Recycling, and it's a program that we're very proud of. Next, please. Community recycling started with a traditional bin program. It remains a mainstay in our business. It remains a meaningful part of the clothing recycling and textile industry that we're talking of. But it is, to our thinking, the present and not the future. The future opportunities are tremendous. The opportunities for us to focus on personal engagement, to teach people to elevate the idea of clothing recycling and especially about reuse and the impact that that has on our local environment and the ability to connect with people around the world is really at the heart of what we want to do. Next, please. We live in a global world, and our efforts have made that world a little smaller and have taught us the value of dealing with people as both recyclers and as buyers and as recipients all over the world. And the simple act of creating that connection through recycling is really at the core of our mission to change the world of clothing recycling by focusing on reuse. Next, please. So we invite everybody to join the reuse movement. This is our future. The problem has been stated. The solutions are there to be had, and the opportunities are engaging, fun, enlightening, and tremendously rewarding. I want to thank everybody for their time and welcome everybody into our movement and to join the program. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ira. Very excellent presentation. And we're now going to field some questions for our presenters. Again, if you have a question, please enter them onto the GoToWebinar dialog box. And we do have quite a few questions already. And I think this one is for John or Ira. Are there uses for material from trim strips and waste from scrap wool or felt?
Yes, there certainly is. There certainly is. While we are very much focused on reuse, the opportunities are well beyond clothing. And as John and Jackie both spoke to, there are plenty of opportunities in textile recycling in the sort of more traditional fashion of reducing or mutilating or returning fabrics and other textiles back to original product for remanufacturing. A very small percentage, and I think as Jackie spoke to, of the material that is available in the flow of recyclables is destined for that traditional recycling. And as Jackie spoke to as well, there's not only wiping rags that are made from non-reusable material, but there's insulation, there's other products such as remanufactured products like blankets and the like that are made out of other scraps that are reduced back to raw material.
Okay.
I have 3 leads on my desk right now of people looking to buy wool scrap. That's all they want.
Okay, next question is, how about material that's impregnated with the fire retardant chemical? Any issues with that material?
I don't think at our level that we have that ability to determine because we're dealing in such fast volume here, to run an analysis on a piece of material to see if it's got that retardant in it. These are just mixed use clothing. It's the first question I've heard in the 30 years that I've been doing this. I don't pay any attention to it at this point. Maybe other processors do, or our customers. But
I think the thing that might be useful is if that person wants to contact me offline, we do have an online trading forum for our members, and there might be somebody that would be willing to do something with that. I'm not sure the answer to that question, but if they want to contact me offline, we'll see if we can send something out.
Okay, another markets question, non-reusable leather goods, flip-flops, and other non-cloth products.
Yeah,
Well,
they can all be recycled or reused.
Right.
it's all totally recyclable.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's a comment concerning the about the potential undermining of the indigenous clothing production industry. Example in Africa, by shipping super cheap used clothes to those areas of Africa.
Well, I think a lot of people have a misconception that all the clothing is cheap and not of good quality, and I will tell you, probably John can speak to it as well, that there are very good people over in these other countries who want high quality clothing. The other thing that I think a lot of people think is that it takes away from clothing that may be manufactured in those countries that are also buying new clothing. Most of the time, the people there cannot afford new clothing, so the clothing they can afford is the used clothing that John is a broker for, and other people that market that way. So
Right.
I think it's a misconception. John, you can probably talk a little more about that too.
Well, we do for some of our source or greater packers. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jackie. They want, a lot of them want high-end clothing, and they're willing to pay for it. They don't want it veiled either. It's too difficult to get the wrinkles out of it, either from the small bales or the big bales. They buy this material either loose in Gaylord containers, or we have what's called a cap sack. It's a polyester cover. It's about the size of a bale, but we put high-end clothing in it so that they can rip it out and put it on the market for sale or use it themselves. So that's the way it goes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was only going to add that we live in a culture, a global culture, really that's driven by fashion, whether we recognize that or not, and the demand in a number of markets overseas certainly is not only about affordability, but it's also driven by quality, and it's also driven by fashion. And there is no question in my mind, certainly, that we are providing recycled and reusable materials. We're providing not only an affordable alternative, but a fashionable alternative. And that does sound rather ironic, but it does exist in a meaningful way.
It also crops up that we have a term for the clothing that's going to Africa or the warm weather areas. It's tropical wear. It's all lightweight. We're certainly not going to send them earmuffs and winter boots. Right? So, and it's the tropical, that has to be picked out of it, and they'll pay a much higher price to get a quality used clothing in those markets.
This question is for Jackie. Can you expand on how charities are supported if the recycling agency offers a clothing textile program?
Well, I think, and I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that, but in general, how charities can be supported by recycling. And many of our members will buy excess from charities like the Goodwill or Salvation Army that get donated clothing to their storefront, and they can't sell all of it, so they're benefiting from that transaction because then the money they get from that is going to help them to do whatever good work and their mission is for the organization. Many of our members also partner with a variety of charities that don't collect, but they will partner in a variety of ways. And these are for individual, privately owned companies to make arrangements with charities to partner with them and either use their logo or have a joint relationship with them. And then they're compensated for that. And then again, same thing. They're being able to do their good works and whatever their mission is because of that relationship that they have. So I'm not sure that answers the question.
I think it does. Here's another markets question. The colored hospital gowns and one-use linens in hospitals, are they recyclable?
If they are of a basic material, if it's a synthetic material, there's a couple different ways to go about it. Normally, that type of material, the gowns and that, goes into a wiper grade.
Right.
It's a very cheap item.
But it is recyclable, and that's
Yes, it is.
So hospitals could set up programs to recycle those materials.
right. And there are many organizations. There are uniform companies. There are large hospitals, correctional facilities. All have material that does make it into the recycling stream, and that is important.
Okay, this is a bit of a technical question. I'm not sure if you have an answer for it. A material like aluminum can be recycled almost indefinitely. Are textiles more like paper in that they have a finite recycling loop? How many times does a product get moved through the textiles recycling loop before it becomes part of the 5% unprocessable material?
Well, that's a great question, and I think I don't know that there's any data on that we can speak to, but certainly the life cycle of an article of clothing is substantially longer than what we would recognize. And I think in our, as I mentioned earlier, in our fashion sort of conscious culture, we are invited to move through material a lot more quickly than useful life. So while it may not change hands in multiple hands, it does have a useful life that's substantially longer than one person would find comfortable or acceptable.
Well, also these textiles, we have a grading program, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and then wiper grade. It's going to depend upon the wear and tear. Is that what we're reaching here? The best nice stuff is all grade 1. It's all very wearable, very little wear to it. Grade 2 is worn out, that's recyclable in the store or for export. And grade 3, as far as I'm concerned, is the next best thing to wiper grade, not wearable. Or if it is wearable, it's really ripped, torn, what have you.
Right.
You've got periods. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, but just to your point, John, that an article of clothing could traverse that scale, and it could be, worn as an article of clothing for a period of time. It could be recycled and reworn again, and then it could be reused as a wiping rag, or it could be used for insulation or for some other purpose subsequent to that. So there's multiple iterations of use out of one article.
Yep.
Okay. A related question. You mentioned grading. Do you further separate by fiber types such as rayon, cotton, wool, acrylic? And if you do, what about fiber blends?
I don't think that there's a set policy on that because various communities, countries, whether the whole shot has a bearing on what they are buying. There are some places they have to have just plain pure cotton. There are other places where they take a blend, and there are other places where they'll buy pants, shirts, what have you, out of a pure synthetic material. There's everybody's a little bit different. I average 20 inbound calls a day to buy, and some, oh yeah, this is all number one, it's perfect, it's wonderful. And then the other guy, well, it's mixed, got some good in there, and we've been through it and picked out the good stuff. Every one of them is different. There's no set policy. It's not like you're making the fender for a car and everyone's the same. Everybody wants something different, and everybody's offering something different in our industry.
Great. This question is on the TV and radio spots. Where are they currently running?
We actually have them just available on our website, and so we've made them available, just by marketing them. So I don't know if anybody's actually running them right now, but, if you'd like access to them, certainly we can talk to you offline and direct you to them if you have. We encourage, especially like local cable stations, if they have a need for a filler or radio station, to use them, especially, certainly this time of year is a great time for some of the radio spots, to remind people to, when they're getting new clothing in as a gift, perhaps at the holiday, to not throw the old away, but to recycle it.
What do you find is the best way to collect residential textiles in the world of the new single stream way of collecting? Have you seen curbside programs at work, or do you still promote the drop-off type programs?
Well, Central States has found just in the past 36 months, there are various groups and for employees supplying areas to put used clothing. There is a change coming on with what's going on. Many communities are now banning the donation bins that you see on the corners. I've got 3 states and 3 cities that have actually banned all of the bins in the city limits. So various companies, and I've seen a couple of them here in Michigan, have areas where the employees will come in and they'll bring their lunch and a bag of clothing to donate. And they've got an area set aside for it.
Exactly. Curbside, is definitely still a very viable method. We have in our company, we have a couple of curbside programs that are doing very well. But we've been promoting and pushing, as I tried to explain, a number of other related programs that are designed to take curbside to a different level. And this is where I think our industry is going. As John mentioned, the regulations that are in place and are coming around clothing recycling bins are changing the landscape, and there will be changes coming soon as we all sort of redefine how we do what we do.
This question is concerning supply and the growth of more collection. Is the demand sufficient to absorb this additional supply? Do we know if there's a demand limit, and if so, how far away are we from it?
Well, I'm back to the fact that we're not manufacturing the fenders right and left and everything's the same. All of what you just requested is so changeable from day to day. There's no projecting what we're going to do in 2014. It's just, they're all different. And my new policy is I won't buy anything unless I've seen it. And oh yeah, this is all number one stuff. And you get in there and it's not that good.
Well, I think that, we certainly are seeing that there is a huge demand and not enough supply. And I think, from our association perspective, one of the reasons we embarked on a pretty massive public relations campaign to raise awareness about textile recycling is not only because it's the green thing to do, but it's good business for our members. Because the more we can raise awareness about textile recycling in turn, that should increase the supply for our members to sell. How long, that is going to be the situation. There's always ups and downs in any kind of market. Ira, I don't know what your perspective is.
Well, in my history in this industry, we have seen a continuing demand. I think without saying too much more. I think that the industry itself is still evolving, and the supply and demand um, is not always in sync. In other words, not only is it up and down at times, but there seems to be a good deal of inefficiency in our market still. And I think that will be something to be ironed out. But in the short term, I think the demand is very strong, and the supply is going to remain compelling too. We live in a fashion culture, and material flow and the economic conditions certainly are going to be improving. But at times there is a great deal of inefficiency in our market. But John sort of alluded to the fact that it's hard to predict what next week will look like. But this industry has been around for a couple hundred years, and it's time for a change. It's time for things to improve, and I think we're talking about those improvements today.
Absolutely, I'm behind you on that one.
This question is for Jackie. What is the relationship between S.M.A.R.T and its member companies with the Virgin Textiles and Clothing Line?
The Virgin, I'm sorry, what did you say? Virgin Textiles?
Yes.
I would not say, with S.M.A.R.T and the clothing industry, not so much. The Council for Textile Recycling that I mentioned a little bit in my presentation, that is an organization that combines for-profit textile recycling and charities and clothing and apparel manufacturing. So, from the S.M.A.R.T perspective, we're getting the clothing down the food chain, so to say. It's not that we have a direct relationship. The Council for Textile Recycling, certainly they have, had initiatives to try to reach out to the apparel industry, and their motto is wear, donate, recycle. So one of their goals is to encourage apparel manufacturers to have a wear label or a hang tag on any garment that tells them, when you're done with this garment, recycle it. Don't throw it away. So, that's a goal they have.
Okay, this one's a comment on the unauthorized textile donation bins that are dropped off in the middle of the night with no permission or approval from the property owners. I guess the question is how does S.M.A.R.T deal with that, and maybe how do you deal with it as a company?
Well, from S.M.A.R.T perspective, I'm sorry, Ira, go ahead.
No, I mean, just to redefine the problem, I mean, as an industry, and I think S.M.A.R.T has gotten, has spoken to this issue in a meaningful way. As an industry, it's a problem. It's a problem because of some bad apples, essentially, and we've experienced it very very directly. Whether in our program, our bin program, which is sort of the cornerstone of where we began, we won't put a bin without approval, without some written agreement, and it's very clear how we operate. We have a service commitment, and we do operate above board and clean and neat and in an organized fashion. However, not everybody subscribes to those same policies, and unauthorized bin placement has besmirched this the well-meaning and proper folks in our industry. There's been a host of bin thefts that have been, some of which have been brought to the attention of the authorities. But it is a problem, and it has not gone away entirely. Even even lately, it still remains. But I think S.M.A.R.T, and Jackie can certainly speak to this, has done a very good job getting behind this issue.
Well, and thank you, but as you said, we adopted a bin code of conduct for our members, basically laying out all the things that you said as far as being a responsible, transparent, law-abiding company. That's how we want our members to operate. Be very clear about the labeling on their bins. Have them clean cleaned up regularly, make sure they get permission before placing them. But that's one of the biggest concerns that we have, because there are bad actors out there, and it's harming people's businesses who are in business operating the right way. And we don't think that banning bins from a city, town, or municipality standpoint is the answer, because, really that's going to harm the whole impetus of reuse and recycling, if you're not making it as convenient, as Iris mentioned, convenience is what it's all about for people to recycle or dispose. So it's a struggle, and our goal is to try to get rid of some of the bad actors if we can, but also to try to work proactively with local governments, regulators, legislators, to help them understand, what our position is, and how we can help them by having, just many places have nothing, like from a legislative or ordinance standpoint, they have nothing, and so then they get hit with, people doing, the unauthorized dropping of bins, and they feel the only answer is to ban them. But we think there are solutions around that. If we work together, we can make it a better, and a more level playing field, frankly.
I have found a couple of communities that have totally banned the bins. There's 3 of them so far in the United States that have banned the bins. And it really does affect everybody. So what are these people going to do with their donations and their clothing? A lot of them are to just don't take them to the churches or the nonprofits. They put them in the garbage. So if it's actually banning the bins are costing these municipalities money because they got more activity at the landfill now. It's just the darndest thing I've ever seen. There are certain law firms now taking action against a couple of firms that are not even from the United States that have been here, and they're trying to get stuff done. I think the municipalities ought to set the standard for the number of bins per square foot or per yard or what have you, and make some money on it themselves. They should charge so much a month per bin to allow it in the city. There's a couple of ways to go about this, but it's a vicious, nasty situation right now.
Okay, we are out of time, so we're going to be ending the webinar at this point. Again, this webinar, like all the webinars in this series, has been recorded and will be made available via YouTube links on both the National Recycling Coalition and Recycling Market Center websites. Thank you for the audience for joining us and providing those excellent questions. And again, thank you, Jackie, John, and Ira for those great presentations. And we'll see you next time. So long.